Alors, épisode 5. Dans les profondeurs de la mer.
I thought I was doomed. But a miraculous thing happened, General. I could breathe. It must have been the helmet that was jammed onto my head. It was a strange and remarkable thing.
Some might almost say beyond belief.
A narrow-minded fool may indeed, General, but of course you are no Durak. But even as I sank towards the floor of that lost ocean, my journey was about to take me to darker, stranger territory than ever before. And it happened like this.
Oui, putain, les sauts que tu fais. Faut quand même glisser? Non.
Let me see if I have this correctly. After narrowly failing to apprehend the mad missing explorer Toll and recapture my atomic bomb in your giant snowball, you fell through thin ice and sank to the bottom of a subterranean ocean, discovering along the way that the mind control helmet you had accidentally wedged onto your head enabled you to breathe underwater and resume your pursuit across the seabed.
T'as eu un faux saut. J'ai cru que j'allais tomber dedans.
General,
J'ai
you
vraiment
seem
cru.
perplexed.
Perplexed? Perplexed is that the keys to my house are not where I left them. Perplexed is the fact my dog will not eat cheese like other dogs. No, Ivan Ivanovich, I am not perplexed.
Intrigued then, perhaps?
I'm not sure intrigued is the correct term either. Enraged at being taken for a simpleton, now that, perhaps, is a better way of describing my current state of mind.
Les hippocampes. J'aurais bien voulu en avoir, mais c'est très difficile à comment dire ça? À entretenir.
That is unfortunate, General.
Once again, Comrade Privalov, I must correct you. Unfortunate is losing one's car in a snowstorm. Unfortunate is booking opera tickets on your wife's birthday and getting the date wrong.
Oh, was she furious?
That is not the issue! Furious. However, now that is a good word.
I could speak with your wife. Would that help? I could always have a word with her if you like.
I could always have you shot.
Oh, you could. But I suspect she would appreciate the gesture less.
Oh putain, ça frôle.
A kraken. A vast monster of the sea. A giant, humongous, many-armed electrical destroyer of ships and cities.
Electrical?
Electricity flowed along its horrible body, sparking and stunning all it touched, flowing like deadly rivers along its awful tentacles.
va retrouver le Titanic. Allez, voilà. Il est devant nous.
A sobering discovery. Are you suggesting that the vessel simply wandered off course and sank here? That seems unlikely even by your standards.
No, General, I only wish that were true. The mighty ship showed terrible scars. Signs of having been grappled and torn asunder by some huge and terrible adversary.
That is indeed strange and curious. I'm troubled by this discovery.
Might you almost be perplexed, perhaps?
Don't push your luck.
Oh, peut-être pas se faire pister, non? Bon, ça va. Hein. Lui, elle est tranquille. Ils aiment pas la lumière. Allez, vole! Oh putain, j'ai pas assez d'élan. Waouh, putain, c'était tout juste, hein.
I was stationed at Sydney Ostrov some years ago. I am only too aware of how easy it is for the imagination to create monsters when one is exposed to lonely and dark places. My men required constant monitoring.
Much like my cousin Pavel.
He was also stationed at Ostrov?
No,
Pas
he
belle.
required constant monitoring. He was a devil for stealing eggs.
Ah merde, je crois que c'était peut-être dans une bulle. C'est devant nous. Oh putain de l'or.
I was referring to the fear that something is lurking in the darkness. Something strange, brutish, and ill-intentioned.
Again, that sounds much like my cousin Pavel.
Ça servait à quoi de faire ça du coup? Ah, ok.
hunted. There was no doubt about it, and escape was all I could...
Naturally.
That and duty.
Duty?
Yes, General. After all, I had a bomb to recover from
Ah, quand
that
tu vois ça, t'as
villain
trop envie de jouer
How
à
clever of
Subnautica.
you to remember that.
On n'est pas près de le voir, mais vivement le 3 quoi. Ah, du temps en faisant ça. Ça va, ça passe. Je sais pas c'était quoi, mais c'était pas un sous-marin. Oh putain.
But first, there was the issue of escape. Escape from a dreadful, grasping creature that consumed all it could reach, dragging anything that wandered within its clutches to a miserable doom. A hoarder of useless trophies and stolen goods.
Once again, Tavarish, I suspect you are pursuing a somewhat tortuous metaphor for capitalism, in the misguided hope of appealing to my political ideals.
I was like a mouse, General. A little mouse being toyed with by a terrible cat.
A rather wet mouse.
I was like a little underwater mouse.
Being stalked by a giant rubbery electrical cat with 8 tentacles.
Exactly, General.
Good, I'm glad we cleared that up. You may continue.
On se promène. Ah! Je peux pas la voir là, si. Si. Pas moi. On peut prendre les deux en même temps? Plusieurs trucs quoi. Ça a l'air. Ah il monte. Qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Oh putain, je sais pas si... Mais c'est passé.
Submarines. You didn't mention submarines before.
Didn't I? Why? No, Naverne, General. Of course, submarines. Millions of them. Several, at least.
Any particular submarines did you See names? Numbers?
General, have you lost the submarine?
I am not at liberty to answer that question, as you well know.
Well, General, losing one's car in a snowstorm is unfortunate, as you say. But to lose a whole submarine, that could be considered careless.
And you are certain it was M. Deveschi Pidisach?
Well, that was painted on the hull, so I can only assume so.
I think I know where this dismal story is going next. You somehow miraculously brought the remaining closed cycle engine online, flooded the torpedo tubes, dispatched the Kraken with one shot, and triumphantly surfaced.
No, General, that is not what happened at all. I did indeed make my way to the torpedo tubes, but for a very different purpose. After all, history has taught us that atomic power is not to be toyed with.
Much like tired, impatient generals, perhaps. Particularly the perplexed ones.
Indeed, General. Or like dogs that will eat no cheese.
On est à l'abri déjà. Oh, je dois regarder quand même. Comment tout ça? Oh putain. C'est le moment de courir? Cours. Une torpille, vas-y appuie. Non.
Will our determined yet
Il fait comment là?
disoriented hero end his days as socialist sushi? Will his daring exploits be cut tragically short by vengeful calamari? Will the general's wife ever forgive him for missing Ruslan and Lyudmila? And just how many eggs did Pavel steal, and where did he keep them? All of these questions and more may or may not be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
Bon, générique, on le passe. Je sais pas si c'est les mêmes personnes qui travaillent dessus, mais. Et nous voilà à l'épisode 6.
I was alive, General. Somehow, miraculously, I was alive. Some twist of
Quoi ce délire?
fate, some hand of destiny, but I was alive. Strange as this new world was, I knew Toll must have come this way, and it was my task to find him. And it happened like this. The sun beat down on me relentlessly. The heat was unbearable. I was exhausted. Yet I could not stop. I had to go on. For 7 weeks, I trudged across the desert. On the second day...
Please, comrade, if we may. I think we can skip the details, unless you consider them to be particularly relevant to the location of Little Orpheus.
Of course, General. We will simply omit the tale of the singing chasm, the oasis of mirrors, the sightings of Tol's Mienk aloft on their pterodactyls carrying parts of my crashed rocket drill over the horizon to Lemuria.
Wait, the what?
Singing chasm?
Not that, but the rocket drill.
Oh yes, General, the rocket drill. But what did Tol want with it? And why Lemuria?
Lemuria?
Lemuria, General.
I am not familiar with this Lemuria, comrade.
Well, that is because it does not exist, General. Or at least, so I thought.
Y a pas mal, hein? Bah, se réveiller par une tempête de sable, y a mieux.
Strange crystals seemed to exert an extraordinary hold over the stone blocks and arches. When they hummed, the whole city remade itself. Whereas they were missing, clearly looted by some villainous thief,
Ouais.
the city was fallen to ruin. It was like a vast musical instrument, vandalized, and yet still attempting to toot.
How poetic. I am sure our engineers would be fascinated and baffled in equal measure. If the whole department hadn't been arrested for sedition last week, I would happily convey it to their skeptical ears.
Sedition? Really? It is unfortunate.
C'est dangereux ici.
I am joking, comrade.
Oh putain, des terras, je sais plus comment. Oh putain. Je crois que c'était A ou B, comme d'hab. Quand j'ai vu X.
Oh yes, the Menk for here, all right. which meant whatever dastardly scheme Toll had, it was to be enacted on these burning sands.
And you will explain this in due course, I imagine.
Imminently, General. What you need to know first is this. I have told you already how parts of the devices the enslaved Mienk were forced to wear came from the surface.
Radio parts and so on, yes, from what you have told me. Assuming there were plenty of lost ships in the ocean as you claim, for Toll to have dredged up what he needed to assemble them.
Aha! Good! You are one step ahead of me, General.
I said assuming.
Of course. Assuming. Now, as I gazed in awe at the buildings rising and falling around me, I realized that the other major component of those mind-controlling helmets was crystal.
Non, 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 tu me laisses tranquille, toi.
Paul had raided Lemuria for them. He knew the city. He knew the crystals could amplify vibrations and waves, and was using them to boost the signal of the
Ouais, j'avais
radio
un doute de
parts
passer.
to exert his control over the nymph. Which meant...
Yes?
Imagine what such amplification could achieve when fused to the finest atomic science our great Soviet civilization has produced.
Wait. I do not understand. You said Toll was planning on using the bomb to shatter the Earth's crust to return to the surface.
A tragic mistake, General. They had not recognized the extent of his mad ambitions.
You mean to imply Toll would have attempted to enslave the Russian people? Pah! The will of the Soviet citizen is mighty and strong.
To you, perhaps, as a trained warrior, but consider, perhaps instead, a humble son of a toy maker from Tomsk.
Ah, yes. Perhaps we have our share of simpletons, after all.
Putain, je crois que je m'avais raté.
The vast pictograms told of a history of wonders. They seem to suggest the Lemurians were travelers from another world, where a mysterious clock seemed to stand.
That is very mysterious. As mysterious as the location of little Orpheus, perhaps.
Ah, yes, of course, General. I am just getting to that.
Ah merde, je pensais qu'il fallait attendre qu'il se retourne. Ah, j'ai pas tout compris là. Ok. Oh putain. Il a des bras rallonges, ça me va.
As I bravely explored that ancient city, a question was gnawing at my mind. What did it mean that the Lemurians had foreseen the coming of Tol? And who was the man from above that was celebrated as the savior of the Miengf? It was almost as if they could read the future in their crystals. The bells of Lemuria tolled and tolled, a roaring symphony, a crescendo of peals that set the city dancing, each note causing the crystals to shimmer and
c'est le
cascade
moment de
with
courir.
light. But the sandstorm was
Merde.
no natural phenomenon, and the bells did not ring for celebration. Something was very wrong here.
Aside
heureusement que c'est
from
un
the
moment.
pterodactyls and the Miengf and the dancing stones and the ancient magical prophecies and the crystals and now the giant bells, you mean?
If you don't want me to continue, General,
Le
then I
blanc.
can easily just quietly go home.
Don't think Chepucho will get you out of this one, comrade.
Ah, c'est de la triche. Mais... Bon, les QTE comme ça, c'est une épreuve. Hein. Comme je connais la manette, je me trompe tout le temps. Oh, marre de bon moment. Ok, ça sera au date débris. Au premier. Bon, j'aurais pu y aller peut-être. Ah, il y en a deux, c'est pour ça. Ok. Je veux dire, il va bien vite pour faire le tour.
I raced through those magical structures, a righteous fire in my heart. I was like the Brinya Nikic, prepared to strike at the dragon who threatened my home.
Your heroism is only surpassed by your modesty.
On the contrary, General, I chose the Brinya carefully. Like him, I am a simple peasant. It was fate that chose me to descend to the Earth's core.
It was General Komanin who chose you to descend to the Earth's core. But don't let that get in the way of your story.
Oh, well then, award General Polkovnik Kamanin the highest medal in the world.
He already has several of those.
I cannot take credit for his wisdom in sending me.
C'est sauvage ici, hein.
was once a rocket drill ship, built to burrow into the earth, was now a mighty vessel, repurposed to blast off into the skies.
Oh.
There was no doubt the toll was headed for the strange world with its clock, although to what end I was yet to understand. But there was no time to consider, no time for questions.
Oh putain. Oh là là. Je joue avec le feu.
Toll was on the rocket. Little Orpheus was on the rocket. And wherever they were headed, I must head there too, to thwart his plans, recover my drill, and save the world!
Will our enthusiastic yet disorientated hero be burnt to a cinder by the rocket's engines? Will he be smashed into the rock that surely must be beyond the Lemurian skies? Does Nikolai Petrovich Kamenyan really need any more medals? What was the strange clock, and what could it all mean? All of these questions, and more, will be answered, if you're extremely lucky, in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
Bon pareil, on s'arrêtera sur le générique. À la fin du générique.